So as promised, now we're going to transition into the second part of the course where we talk about knowledge, belief, what is it and when is it good? This topic is called by philosophers epistemology. And our first item of business is to identify just what these things, in particular what this knowledge thing is. What is it for somebody to know something? In order to say something helpful about what it is for somebody to know something, it would be great if we could give what philosophers call a conceptual analysis of the idea of knowledge. What would that be? Well, to give a conceptual analysis of knowledge would be to give a bunch of conditions such that satisfying them gives us knowledge, or by satisfying them we have knowledge. And these conditions would ideally be individually necessary and jointly sufficient for knowledge. Let me explain what that means. So what we have is some claim or proposal of the following form. You know that P, where P is just anything, if and only if certain conditions hold. And these conditions, in saying that they're individually necessary, is to say that if you know that P, then the condition must hold. You're knowing that P it can't be the case that you know that P without it being the case that the condition it holds. And to say that the conditions are jointly sufficient is to say that if all the conditions hold, then you know that P. The way that we put this is to say you know that P if and only if these conditions hold. Oh, a further background observation. It would be, it's easy to, in a trivial way, satisfy this by giving a circular analysis of knowledge. So I can say, you know that P, if and only if, you know that P. And I've given necessary and sufficient conditions for knowledge, but they're not very interesting because the term know appears on both sides of the if and only if phrase. An interesting analysis of knowledge will give conditions, necessary and sufficient conditions in particular, for knowledge, such that the word know, or nothing really like it, appears in those conditions. Then, by grasping what it is for the conditions to obtain, we'll have grasped what it is to have knowledge. Okay, so I think to get the ball rolling, let's just start giving some necessary conditions for knowledge, and I think you'll see how the game works, because there's a game here. Okay, so first observation. This seems right. It seems necessary in order for you to know something, that the thing be true. So, as we're developing our conceptual analysis, we'd like to say this. You know that P only if, here's condition 1, P is true. Why is that right? Well, think about the way that we use the term know. Suppose we say, Sherlock Holmes knows that Stapleton did it. That surely does imply that Stapleton did it. It can't be that Sherlock Holmes knows that Stapleton did it and Stapleton didn't do it. If Sherlock Holmes knows he did it, he did it. If somebody says to you, I know you're a no-good, philandering, worthless piece of junk. What's offensive about that is that one of the things he's saying is that you are a no-good, philandering, worthless piece of junk. Because if the person knows it to be true, then it's true. Okay, that's a necessary condition that we've given for knowledge. Is it sufficient for your knowing that P be true? Clearly not. There are lots of true things that we don't know. So, if we're going to try to come up with a bunch of conditions that are jointly sufficient, we need to add to our list. Condition 1 is not enough. What might serve as a condition 2? Well, let's clearly, another thing that knowing brings with it is some kind of confidence that the thing that you know is the case. Way to put this is to say, clearly, you know that P is true only if you believe that P. I mean, one of the ways that you can fail to have knowledge is by failing to believe the thing in question, right? So if I know something, then I've got to at least believe it. And indeed, you might think that believing it is not enough. There are many things that I kind of believe, or I'd say, well, I believe that's true, but I'm not really sure. Knowledge, it would seem, involves being sure of the thing in question. So we can add a second condition for knowledge. You know that P only if 1, P is true, and 2, you are sure that P is true. Is that enough? Well, it doesn't really look like it's enough. There are lots of cases in which people satisfy the first two conditions but don't have knowledge. Look at, suppose that you're totally paranoid. You're kind of deranged, kind of paranoid, and you believe that everybody is out to get you. Indeed, you believe that I'm out to get you. You have no justification for believing this at all, but you believe it, that I'm out to get you. And here's a secret fact that we haven't revealed yet. Actually, I am out to get you. You have no justification for believing that, but it's true. I am out to get you. Sometimes, when you're paranoid, they really are out to get you. This is one of those times. Then, it's true that I'm out to get you. You are sure that I'm out to get you. And yet, of course, you don't know that I am out to get you. You think of everybody that they're out to get you. And it just happens that I'm the one who's out to get you. So how can we add to our conceptual analysis so as to get more conditions that might be jointly sufficient? Well, here's a candidate third condition. You know that P only if 1, P is true, 2, you are sure that P, and 3, you are justified in believing that P. Why, in the paranoia case, you don't know that I'm out to get you is that you have no justification for believing that I'm out to get you. Your belief and your sureness that I'm out to get you is not based, you don't have good reason for that, no justification for that. Okay, so now we've got 3 conditions. Are they jointly sufficient for knowledge? Well, many philosophers have thought that they were. Historically, going back to Plato, something like this was given as an analysis of knowledge. And the sort of state-of-the-art thinking of this subject languished for thousands of years until it was revived in the 1960s by a philosopher by the name of Darius Gettier. And what Gettier showed us was that these 3 simple conditions were not enough. Yes, each of these conditions is individually necessary for knowledge, but no, they're not jointly sufficient for knowledge. So let's take some time to do some exercises, and then we'll come back to Gettier's thought in the next video.